If you are looking for a simple, healthy, high yield recipe, I've got you covered. I'm going to talk through step by step Stealth Health Life's lasagna slow cooker meal prep recipe. This is going to give you 10 servings of easy to prepare lasagna that freezes really well and is so easy to reheat. And you can reheat it in your microwave, your air fryer, your oven. My name is Larissa, and this is the Concussion Crew, an online community where we help each other make life with a concussion a little bit easier. So let's jump in. One of the things that I really appreciated about this recipe, besides how delicious it is that you can take the ground beef and you just chuck it right in. So it is ground beef, and I like to mash it up a bit, but you don't have to pre-cook the ground beef. A lot of these recipes, you have to sear the meat and season the meat or do things on the stove ahead of time, and that can be really difficult. This was a great recipe for me to start getting back into cooking. You have to do what's best for you. If all you can handle right now is making mac and cheese and doing takeout, that's okay. We need to eat. And if your concussion doesn't allow you to stand in the kitchen and cook things, that is okay, my friend. If you are ready to take a step and try something, I like this recipe. So now that I've got the ground beef in, the next thing is 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. And I'm just going to plop that right in there. Next, I've got 2 cans of crushed tomatoes, and I'm going to put all of the steps in the description below. And I'm also going to link to the video on Stealth Health's TikTok account, and I will connect to their website because he has a ton of recipes that are chuck them in the slow cooker, let them go for between 4 to 8 hours, and then you can freeze them and reheat them as you go. These are great recipes to get back into cooking when you're ready. Next, the recipe calls for 4 cups of bone broth, and I order mine from Amazon. I like the flavor of this bone broth. I add not only the bone broth, but my spices to the bone broth water. Bone broth is a wonderful source of protein, as long as it makes it into the bin and not just on your kitchen table. And it really helps to not only add flavor to this recipe, but also to give it that healthy kick, some extra protein. To this bone broth, I'm adding a tablespoon of garlic, and this is what the recipe calls for. If you don't want it that garlicky, less garlic. Measure with your heart. A tablespoon of Italian herbs, and then I add 1 teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of pepper. You might notice that my measurements are a little bit different from Stealth Health Life's ingredient list. I think that when you're making food, when you're doing recipes, you try it the way it's laid out the first time, and then you modify it as necessary. And I didn't care for the onion powder, so I leave it out. And I did less salt. Now that it's mostly mixed up, I'm going to pour that right into the meat and tomato mixture. And then I'm going to put this crock pot insert into the crock pot and leave it on low for at least 4 hours. But you can leave it on for longer. If this is something that you're thinking of putting on in the morning and you're going to doctor's appointments or you're going for rehab, and you want to have hot food when you get home, it's okay if this stays on for longer. Once you come back to it, you're going to add the pasta, so you're not going to have soggy pasta if it stays in for 5 hours, for 6 hours. you're still going to have a delicious tasting dish. If you like having savory things for breakfast or for snacks, you can grab the bone broth and have a cup of it, or half a cup of it, to give yourself a little bit of a boost of protein throughout the day. This is a pretty large batch of lasagna, and I find that it makes about 10 portions for me. And I like to put them into containers that give me 2 servings, so I can have them for dinner 2 nights in a row. You can grab these dollar store containers that can go into the oven if you want to reheat them in the oven, or plastic containers if you're going to be putting them into the microwave. It's now been over 4 hours. I've left it on low in the slow cooker, and I am now taking an entire box of oven ready lasagna noodles. So not regular noodles, they need to be oven ready. And I'm going to break these suckers and pop them into the slow cooker. Cook the noodles for about 20 to 30 minutes on high. I just checked the pasta and it is perfect. So right now I'm going to add in the extra cheese. I'm adding in 1 cup of Parmesan, a half a cup of mozzarella, and 1.5 cups of cottage cheese, which seems weird to me, but tastes delicious. I'm going to stir in the cottage cheese and give a little mix to the parm and the mozzarella, but I'm going to leave it mostly on top. I use shredded cheeses, pre-shredded cheeses. It makes life easier and it's only a little bit more expensive. Totally worth it in my books. You're going to add these cheeses, and then I'm going to leave it covered for 10 to 20 minutes until the cheese gets nice and melty, and then I'll serve. You'll notice that in the original recipe, they add a cup of milk at this point also, and I don't do that because I don't want lasagna soup. I would like deconstructed lasagna, we'll call it. And then I have it with a side salad. So I did all of this cooking in my parents' kitchen so that I could treat them to dinner. My mom and I each had lasagna. My dad eats carnivore, so he did not partake. And I have 5 of this kind of double serving left over. So I'm going to pop this into the freezer, and I will take them out, and I will have 2 dinners. I use oven-proof containers because I like to reheat things in the oven, and I usually add a little sprinkle of cheese when I pop them into the oven. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope that this recipe gives you a great option for an easy, healthy meal prep idea. Make sure you like and subscribe if this video was helpful to you, and if you have a friend who likes easy meal ideas, maybe share it with them. Enjoy your meal, and remember that you are not alone